Good afternoon. Welcome to this week's power session on Habit Finder. Very excited to be with you today. Those of you who are joining for the very first time, those of you watching the replay, those of you logging on as I'm talking, welcome. Happy to have you here. My name is Paul Blanchard. I'm the president of Habit Finder. I am here every single week on Tuesday at noon Mountain Time, 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, and 11 a.m. Pacific. I don't know what time that is in Hawaii. Screw them. They get to live in Hawaii. So really happy to have you here today in this power session. Essentially, Habit Finder is about diving into the way you think. What are the scientific and mathematical patterns of your brain? Not that you need to read elaborate charts or understand axiological mathematics or Cantor's transfinite calculus, but you are living and experiencing the support and the sabotage of these patterns every day. And what we've spent the last 20 plus years doing is being able to measure as simply as possible what those patterns are based on your objective brain patterns, okay? Using science and math to measure these things, and then building a path with proven principles and practices that will specifically get you to your goals. Allow you to be able to remove the roadblocks and the obstacles you haven't been able to get to the next level of your life and create the next dream that you want, okay? And today we're talking about something that we can go a lot of different directions with. We're talking about things being hard. We're talking about life being hard. We're talking about projects being hard and consistency being hard and the business we're trying to build being hard. And we want to be very aware of the value of this perspective, but also its pitfalls and its dangers of just blatantly labeling things as hard. And so we want to dive into that today to give you some tips, some secrets, some principles that will allow you to do hard things easier. Because you don't get to skip the work, which means you don't get to skip the hard. But man, are we making it way harder than it needs to be. So let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Power Session. I am Paul Blanchard, your host, president of Habit Finder. Excited to be with you today. We are here every week diving into how your brain works, what you're actually thinking, how that's working, so that we can change the way we think to change our results. Everyone's talking about mindset. Mindset's just become this total buzzword, unfortunately, usually to sell you stuff you don't actually need, to be able to create some mystical force in the world that's somehow holding you back. But how many people can actually measure it? How many people can actually tell you what your mindset is that is not an artistic, abstract, organic assessment, but is actual proven science and mathematics, where in 10 minutes or less, the Habit Finder can measure 6.4 quadrillion variables in your mindset. So if you believe that mindset is everything, which we do, then you're going to want to know what that actually is on a quantifiable scale. You want to know what that is objectively, not this subjective experience we have. In our lives, we've got this conscious brain and we've got this unconscious brain. And guess which one has more troops in the battle of our lives? The unconscious one. We have about 50 to 80,000 conscious thoughts a day. But we have about 1 to 2 million unconscious thoughts a day. And those unconscious thoughts reveal a lot more about the patterns of our thinking than we may ever realize. The patterns that are in alignment with our conscious mind are serving us tremendously. The ones that are out of alignment are probably sabotaging us without us even realizing it. And some of us are getting to full capacity in coping mechanisms and compensatory actions, which just means compensating for things, to be able to try to inch forward a little bit further in life. Some of us have even found the strength or the motivation to charge forward usually extending that bungee cord to its max and getting yanked back to where we felt like we started, if not further back. We want to change that. We want to get in there and stir things up, change the way that you're thinking. I've said this many times. I don't need you to think the way I think. I'm not trying to get you to think the way I think. That's a scary thought. I want you to stop thinking the way that you're thinking. And today, we want to stop you from thinking the way you're currently thinking about hard, about what does hard mean? What does life being hard mean? What does your business being hard mean? And how can you reframe that and be able to apply it differently to serve you better? Hard has been something that has been used to sell a lot of things. If I can demonstrate to you that life is way harder without what I have, you will go to extraordinary lengths to purchase what I have, which has turned hard into this terrible enemy and this very abstract evaluation of what it feels like on a conscious level and what it feels like on a physical level. Now, one thing we do know is that we don't get to skip the hard, okay? Anytime you feel like you're getting sold an easy button, run the other direction. Anytime you're listening to a presentation that it feels like, okay, typically you'd have to do all these things to be successful, but with our system, you only have to do this. Run away. Now, I'm not saying you can't invest in things that are more efficient, okay? I'm not saying that you can't invest in things that can speed stuff up. But those checks and balances, those baby steps will still be there. You just may have something that helps you get through them quicker, but that doesn't mean that that takes the hard out of it. It creates a different kind of hard. Like we talk about social media a lot because it is one of the most popular ways for our entrepreneurial clients to connect with the world, to be able to grow their businesses, to be able to get new clientele, to be able to network and mastermind. Social media is amazing. And there are a lot of things that as far as being social media speeds up and gives more access to, but it doesn't make it easier, okay? It just makes it faster, which makes it a different kind of hard. And if you aren't able to assess and to be able to adapt to that different kind of hard, you'll continue to buy into things that want to convince you that social media is some shortcut. It's not. It gives you more access and can speed certain things up. But at the end of the day, behind all that social media, behind those pictures, behind those posts, behind those comments and those likes are real human beings that aren't interested in being hot-wired, that aren't interested in being shortcutted. We all thrive on the same needs for connection and fulfillment, regardless of how we have mangled and twisted them and compensated for them and justified them depending on the trauma or the challenges of our life. So wherever you're at, let's just stop for a second and realize that life is going to be hard. That life is hard. But in the pursuit of trying to make life easy, you will make it harder every time. Now, we're not opposed to looking for the easy, but there's a particular sequence to do that. And it's very subtle. And I want you to consider this. The people who want life to be easier make it harder. But if you want to find out how to make your life easier, if you want an easier life that's going to challenge you, but if you're willing to find things that make life easier, that's the difference. So when you wake up in the morning, ask yourself, do I want life to be easier? Or do I want to find the things that make my life easier? Because if you just want the outcome, you just want the destination, I should say. You just want the destination to be ease. When do I get to walk through the gates of ease? When do I get to finally arrive at the ease and the easy life? Man, you're going to go around that revolving door over and over and over again in perpetual frustration and fatigue. But if you're willing to find the correct hard, the appropriate hard, the appropriate discipline, the appropriate awareness, the correct principles, you can find ways to make life easier, but that doesn't mean that life won't be hard. Understand that just because you can make life easier doesn't mean you can make life not hard. But today, I want to talk about how to make the hard easier because of those principles, because of those disciplines, because of those consistencies. We want to learn how to be able to seek the ways to go through the hard intentionally. Because that right there is one of the things that makes life harder than it has to be more often than anything else, is we're trying to avoid the hard. Okay, we do this with procrastination, for example, except we get better and better. We become more pro at procrastination as we get older. I haven't met a human being that doesn't procrastinate, okay, across the board. I've met some who used to procrastinate in some areas and have built in principles and disciplines to solve those. Sometimes they're plugging this part of the dam to have this one burst out, and then they have to plug this part of the dam and another one bursts out. And then other times I've watched people actually constructively take on an area of their life and be able to shift the thinking patterns that are creating that. But you never entirely eliminate procrastination, because the brain is wired to trying to find to make life easier. It's trying to find the stressors that are creating the anxiety, that are creating the depression, or creating the catastrophe, okay, or in the way of the fantasy you've been dreaming about. And it tries to push off those stressors just enough that they don't have quite as much of their claws in you, but not so far off that you feel completely irresponsible. So what we want to start to do is understand how to identify those unconscious triggers, because every time we push something off that is in our top priority list, because we should be managing our priorities, not managing our time, we are going to make life harder on us than it needs to be. But again, we're not here to skip the hard. So if there's someone you know in your life that is just trying to skip the hard, don't tag them in this. Don't share this with them. But if you know people that are life is already so hard, and they can make it just a little bit easier by taking on the correct hard, okay, by doing it intentionally, please share this, tag this. People you know, people you love, people you work with, people you hope you get to work with. Let's share this out so we can get an opportunity to be able to help people start to dial in to the right hard. Because when you do the right hard, you get the right results, and you grow exponentially, and you become a force for good in this world. And that is what we want. We want you to be able to help more people. We want you to be able to leave a footprint on this planet. And for today, because you started challenging intentionally the correct hard, rather than the hard that comes back around because we tried to skip it, because we tried to reduce it, or because we tried to avoid it altogether. All right, couple things in terms of premise for this conversation. These are two major challenges that make life exponentially harder, like the wrong kind of hard, okay? And that we're going to want to be aware of going in, because what I'm going to share with you, these three primary things to help hard things be as easy as possible, okay, are going to fall flat. They're not going to serve you if you're not aware of these two things. The first one is anticipantment. Anticipantment. It's a made-up word of anticipation and disappointment. Anticipantment can make life so much harder than it needs to be. If any of you ever experienced anticipantment, where you do something, you even try to put your heart into it, but some part of you knows that it's just a matter of time until it doesn't work out. It's a matter of time until they reveal their true intentions. It's just a matter of time before the other shoe drops. So many of us are living life in anticipantment, that we're waiting until we get to, if I can just do enough to get it over the edge, then I'm going to feel totally stable. Then I'm going to feel like I've got it figured out. And that place doesn't exist. We keep waiting for an outcome that can never be. Wrong planet, wrong opportunity. As entrepreneurs, as business leaders, as free thinkers, we want to be able to understand that we are going to spend much of our lives in contradiction. We're going to spend much of our lives in ping pong matches between what feels like good and evil, as we calibrate and we grow and we adapt and we evolve. And as we do so, if we're trying to take this journey with anticipantment, we're going to be pouring in energy that works against itself. We're going to be trying to fill up a bucket that has holes in it. Yes, I love to connect with people as long as they're not idiots. Yes, I want to help as many people as possible so that I don't have to deal with these annoying people anymore. You know, we want to stop letting go of, I trust people as long as they've passed an FBI, CIA level background check and and I've had an opportunity to work inside and out with them for years. I trust them entirely. No, we want to start connecting with people and seeing people rather than evaluating them and profiling them and wondering if they're the right people before we've even had an opportunity to get their wall down. Not everybody is going to bring their wall down. We teach you the very best way on planet Earth to do that. It's called intrinsic validation, okay, which is a process that is something we give you steps for so you can practice it effectively and consistently enough to eventually become an intrinsic validator, okay? It's not a sequence that you apply to someone like some Jedi mind trick and it works every time. It is something you organically become, because when it moves beyond the procedure and it becomes a living, breathing principle within you, then not only do you get to apply it to those you come in contact with, but you start attracting people into your life that you're going to want to come in contact with. Because many of us are living life fishing in a pond, but when we embody the principle rather than just master the procedure, we get to move into an ocean of abundance and an ocean of opportunity. So be aware of your, albeit justified and reasonable and explainable, but still disappointment. When someone turned out not to be who you thought they were, or they kept telling you how badly they wanted something, but they didn't put the work in. Okay, we want to start being aware of some of our triggers to be able to let go of it and see more possibilities and see our ability to show up and to be able to fulfill and to be able to be abundant rather than to be cautious and calculated. Those things have their place, but many of us are leading with those. Many of us are allowing the tail to wag the dog. So let's start exploring that. The other is imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome will make life harder on you than it has to be, no matter what. Where things start getting so good for you that you have this very real moment where you step back and go, I don't deserve this. And we start psyching ourselves out. When is it going to go away? What did I do to earn this? Kind of trying to recalculate how we're going to get back here when we're anticipating the moment that it's going to be gone. And then we don't even get to enjoy the moment any longer because now we're trying to brace for impact when it goes away. Who am I to be talking to this person or to serve that person? Who am I to be able to give advice or step up or lead or whatever it is? Who am I to be making this? This is a real problem. Some of you are going to be like, really? Who am I to be making this much money and not working this hard? Okay? All of these stem from very similar deep things that are measured in myself section of the habit finder, specifically, that drive imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome will make life harder no matter what these three things are that I'm going to share with you in just a moment. These three things that will allow a hard life to be as easy as possible. So let's be aware going in of disappointment and the noise around the imposter syndrome, because these two things will sabotage this all day long. And if you're having trouble with those things, significant trouble, and you need to root out some of those weeds that continue to grow back in, of feeling like an imposter, or feeling that guilt of success, or that shame of failure, or the disappointment of both, let's start to dig a little bit deeper. We can help you do that. Get in touch. Take the habit finder. All right. Here are the three keys, okay, to being able to make hard things as easy as possible. Number one, little play on words. Those of you who follow me, I love words. I'm also a little silly and goofy. First one is being able to develop your hardar. Okay. I knew I wouldn't be able to say it with a straight face. It's your radar for things that are hard, okay? You're going to want to be able to develop your radar in your life for the hard things that you would naturally procrastinate or minimize or develop, okay? All of us know what these things are, but none of us want to admit them. Straight up, I'll give you a perfect example. My Thursday afternoon was wide open this week. And I just got a brand new boat this weekend. I was on it all day on Saturday, all day on Sunday, and all afternoon and evening yesterday. Okay? Thursday afternoon was wide open. I would love nothing more than to fill it with just being on the boat from early afternoon until the evening. Okay? Having so much fun, bringing people out, being out there with my girls. It's amazing. However, There's a webinar that I need to get done on Thursday. There are some things that people need to hear about becoming a coach in 2020. Doing a webinar then instead of going out on the boat. It could have been really easy to go, but the webinar will work just as well next week. I mean, what's really a big difference between August 6th and August 13th? I mean, it's really not a massive difference. It's okay. Or maybe I could even do it on a Tuesday or a Wednesday next week. My Tuesday evening next week is open. Let's move it there. I heard all the dialogue. I went, oh, that right there. That's one of the hard things. That's going to be one of my hard things this week because I'm going to do that. I'm going to take that on. Now, that might sound silly to some of you. There was another simpler one this morning. I got back from the gym and I hadn't put the cover on the boat yet. I didn't feel like getting up there and putting the cover on it for the first time because I've been taking it out constantly. It was early. I was still tired. I just got done working out. Yeah, I'll do it later when I come home in the evening. But I knew that was going to be harder. And so I decided to do it right then and there. And then other things. I woke up this morning at 4:30 to go to the gym and to get up and get after my day. After getting home last night at 10:30, getting to bed by about 11:30, 11:45 to start falling asleep, I wasn't very excited about getting up at 4:30. In fact, I set my alarm for 7:30 if I'm being totally honest. And I got up at 4:30 because it's what my body has been used to for years. And I'm trying to get it back into that now as it's gotten thrown off. And I got up this morning and through some tremendous encouragement from a dear friend of mine, which we'll get to in number 2, okay? And sitting there and going, this is one of the hard things. This is developing my hardar, my radar for this hard thing. And I can see how if I push this off, if I justify this, would it destroy my business today? Would it wreck my life today? No. But if I stop taking on things that are hard intentionally, then I'll start putting deposits in the bank of hard, and eventually I'll have to cash that out. And taking that out of that bank in huge lump sums is way more painful than seeking out the hard things on purpose. So develop your radar for hard things. You all know what I'm talking about. That eating healthier, that you keep waiting for the right Monday to kick off. The working out, that you keep waiting for that lingering injury to finally get so much better that you're back to 100% to go start doing. That marketing plan, that your taxes, whatever it is, okay? The things that we push off. Calling that client. Well, they're already a client. They're already paying me. I can call them tomorrow or next week. That might be your hard thing. Okay. Sitting down and taking some time for yourself might actually be your hard thing. But find the hard things in your life and seek them and engage them on purpose. Because every time you don't, you put a deposit in that hard account, in that hard bank account that eventually you have to cash out every month, every quarter, depending on how quick it fills up. And when you have to cash that thing out, it's a painful sum to take on. It can devastate you. So let's keep in mind that similar to taking care of your health, okay, a hard thing a day keeps the despair away. Find just something little. And it doesn't need to be hard on a global scale. It doesn't have to be something that someone else would think was hard. Me coming home this morning and putting the cover on the boat may not sound that hard to many of you, but it was hard because I had so many reasons to not do it right then. And it was been so much easier to just walk in and go on with my morning. So it's not a matter of whether it's hard for somebody else. It's a matter of whether it's hard for you. Seek them out intentionally. I highly recommend finding something hard. And the key isn't how hard it is. It's that it would have been way easier to not do it, but do it anyway and identify it and celebrate it as the hard thing you did. Some of you might be challenging this stuff anyway. You're just not doing it intentionally. But identify it. Tell your brain, hey, that was the hard thing that could have been so easy for me to not do, or normally I wouldn't have done it. And I did it. And I celebrate it. Okay? I love the example Kitty just gave. Calling to replace a lost card. How many of us have had little things? I had a client who I had this conversation with, and she had a admissions form for her child to go to college sitting on the corner of her desk for 3 weeks. And all it needed was a signature and a stamp. That's it. And it was, I'm going to get to it. Well, that itself was so easy. But because she had made so many deposits in the hard account, that easy thing got harder and harder and harder. And the easier the thing is that we put off, the more painful it is to not do it. Because then we beat ourselves up for being such an idiot for why couldn't you even just call your credit card company? Why couldn't you just sign that and send it off? And that's what we usually do when we take the hard thing on. We either put the cover on the boat, call to replace the lost card, or whatever it might be, and go, well, you're supposed to do that anyway. I want you to start celebrating those things. That was a hard thing for you, okay? Because it was not necessarily because it was so hard in of itself, but because it was so easy to not do it. And celebrate those things. That's developing your radar for that. And you'll want to dial in this radar, fine-tune this hard R, okay? Which I have no doubt there's so many people laughing every time I say that, which is totally okay. I'm good with it, okay? And my producer keeps putting it back up on the screen without being able to keep a straight face either. So welcome to the power session. All right. But the way to fine tune this radar is to get clearer and clearer about what you want. That's where you'll get clearer and clearer about what the hard things are that aren't just taking them on for the sake of them being hard. It's not. We're not. This is not a sporting event. We're not trying to show off. It's not a matter of comparison or anything else. It's about, this is what I want, and these are the simple baby steps to get there. And the simpler they are, the easier it is to not do them, and the more we beat ourselves up for not doing them, like the examples that we've stated before. Most people are clear about what they don't want, and so they determine what they should do to avoid what they don't want. And those aren't the right hard things. Trying to avoid what you don't want will not guide the precision of this radar to do the things that will get you what you really do want. So challenge yourself to get clear about what you do want, because most people we talk to are much more naturally clear about what they don't want, which also brings us back to that disappointment we talked about. So number one is develop your hard R, okay? Your radar for hard things. I don't care. It's awesome. Number two is stakeholders. Stakeholders. Okay, like stockholders, stakeholders, people that have a stake in your life, in your well-being, a real one. Okay, not play money, putting a stake or a bet on something, hard-earned, connected, passionate, intrinsic investment in you. Don't do hard things alone. Now, you can take the activity alone, okay? Like Kitty, there isn't anyone else that can call and replace your lost card, okay? But imagine you keep looking at your wallet and going, oh my gosh, I need to take care of that. And you call someone and say, hey, I need you to really get after me if I haven't gotten this done by the end of the day. I'll give you a perfect example. It's what inspired this whole power session. Is after boating all day on Saturday and Sunday, I knew I was going to be exhausted on Monday, and so that became my reality. I can hear it as I'm saying it out loud. And so I slept in a little bit. I didn't wake up at 4:30. But I messaged one of my closest friends, and someone who isn't just like the casual friend, who isn't like, oh, we feel so close and so comfortable with each other. No, we challenge each other. We have so many uncomfortable moments together. We have super formal moments together. We have super unformal moments together. These are the kind of stakeholders you want to find. You want to find disruptive stakeholders, okay? You don't want to find accountability partners. Oh my gosh, don't get me started on accountability partners. Those are procrastination whisperers, okay? Accountability partners are procrastination whisperers because you want to procrastinate something and you're hoping they're going to hint about it. And if they hint about it, you'll hint about it. And eventually you're both giving tacit approval to not doing the same thing together, okay? So it wasn't this friend of mine's job to get up at 4:30 in the morning. We weren't getting up together, okay? We weren't going to work on a project together, but I messaged her and said, hey, I'm not getting up at 4:30 tomorrow morning, but please don't let me do it 2 days in a row. And phenomenally left me a message Tuesday night saying, hey, I remember this request. I want to make sure you hear these. And she knows me well enough. She rattled off all the justifications that I would have made, all the conversations I had in my own head, like to a T. And I just sat there and went, crap, I have to get up. And I'm so glad that I did. Isn't that amazing? Well, the hard as the entry point is way better than the hard as the payoff, okay? And that's number 3. We'll get to that in just a second. But find stakeholders. Find people that can challenge you appropriately. Find people that you love enough to make you uncomfortable. Find people that you love enough and care about enough and love you enough and care enough about you to be able to just as powerfully be a bull in a china shop as walking on eggshells, and sometimes you're not sure which, okay? Those disruptive stakeholders in your life are worth gold, okay? They are unbelievable. Find them, hold on to them, serve them. Find out what they want so that they can help you with what you want, but not accountability partners, okay? Not hey, you want to lose 10 pounds? I want to lose 10 pounds. Let's talk about all the food we miss so that we're starting to tempt each other to saying, okay, you have a donut and I'll have a burrito, but we'll be back on track tomorrow. That's accountability partnership, and that's garbage, okay? You want to find a stakeholder. You want to find someone who is willing to really hold you accountable when it counts, not because they're going to do it for you, okay? She wasn't calling me at 4:30 in the morning, wake up, wake up, wake up. She knew exactly what to say and when. Okay, because I've invested in having stakeholders like that in my life, and it's a huge part of being successful. There is no one you can look at that is massively successful that doesn't have people like this in their life. Nobody gets there alone. Nobody is more capable than you. They're just more accountable than you. That's a critical piece. They're not more capable than you. They're more accountable than you. And accountability is not a solo game. So number 2 is get those stakeholders so you don't do it alone. Number 3, hard is an experience, not an evaluation. Hard is an experience, not an evaluation. Too many of us are trying to evaluate whether life is hard enough, whether that task is hard enough, whether we're headed the right direction because of how hard it is. Stop using hard as evaluation. Go seek hard experiences that are in alignment with what you want. See how these build together? Find things that are hard that are in alignment with what you want. Find stakeholders to hold you accountable to them, and then be present and experience them. And you'll know you're doing this sequence correctly because you're not going to sit there going, wow, this is really hard the whole time. Like my workout this morning, it was really hard. And I had a couple of moments going, this is really hard, only to then take a breath and dive right back into being present with my body and with the workout and what was going on. And you can apply that to anything in business and life, okay? So number 3 is stop going, I'm headed the right direction because it's hard. That's a poor evaluator, okay? Just being able to say it's hard doesn't mean you're headed the right direction. You want to head the right direction and start intentionally finding the things that are hard, to experience them, to explore them, to be conscious with them. Because too many of us are trying to go through hard like this. Okay? Our eyes aren't open. Our senses aren't available. Even our fingers don't work properly because we're clenched, figuratively and literally in life. So we want to stop using hard as I must be heading the right direction because it's hard, and start realizing that it's an experience. We want to have hard experiences because we want to experience them, not because we evaluated after the fact and went, that was hard, okay? And understand the other piece to doing this properly is that it's usually something that will feel super hard to start. But once you're in it, there's a flow, okay? There's a connection to what you're doing that can really help you be able to get a bigger payoff, to be able to accomplish what you're looking to create, okay? So quick review, develop your radar, find the hard things, oftentimes that are easy, because that's what makes them so hard, okay? And number 2, find stakeholders, find people, not accountability partners, find stakeholders that are willing to be all the things. that are formal and informal, that are comfortable and uncomfortable, that walk on eggshells with you and break the bowl in the china shop kind of thing, that are constantly evolving and shape, because that's what you're doing. That's a stakeholder. Someone who wants to see you win and is willing to get down on the field and ask you about what you're doing rather than just stay up in the stands and go, woohoo. Okay. And number 3, realize that just trying to use hard as an evaluation versus an experience will help maintain the clarity of doing hard things in life in the easiest way possible, so that we don't fall into that imposter syndrome, so we don't fall into that disappointment, so we don't get to a place where we feel like we can breathe and then just wonder when we're going to suffocate again. Because that's what too many of us are experiencing. We put our heads down and we make things hard to come out and go, oh, I feel so much better. But how long is it going to last? When is it going to go away? Like we're playing some game of chance and we're spinning a wheel and every other slot is hard, easy, hard, easy, hard, easy, hard, easy. Let's stop playing a game of chance. Let's seek out things that are hard intentionally. And we'll develop the correct habits and the principles to be able to create an easier life rather than keep seeking ease. Let's do the things that make life easier rather than seek an easier life. So, will things be hard? Yes. Do they always have to feel as hard as they do now? No. It's way more fun to do something hard intentionally than to just try to live life hard. Just try to find the hard things in life. Thanks for being on today. Thanks for enduring my silliness. Okay. My wordplay. Okay. But I hope that you will find a love for not just things being hard for the sake of them being hard and difficult, but that you'll find a way to be able to find the things that are hard that are in alignment with what you want, take them on intentionally, find stakeholders to help you get there, and make sure that you never fall back on hard being an evaluation, but rather an experience that you seek to teach you. It's not an ante to the game. Okay, it's an experience. Thanks so much for being here. Hope this was beneficial to you. I'll come up with some other goofy, fun combo words for next time. Hopefully they'll be a little bit better and can help my producer keep a straight face as we go through this so I can focus on you guys. I'm just kidding. Everybody have an incredible week. If you haven't taken the Habit Finder yet, go to habitfinder.com. Take it. If you know someone that hasn't taken it, share it with them so they can dive in, so that we can start helping them understand how they think, so that we can start to align it with what they deserve. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Have a great week.